What happens when an album becomes famous for one song and one song only? Today I'm continuing the story of Alice Cooper. Now it's time for them to release their fifth album in 1972 called School's Out. They already had their big break in 1971 with Love It to Death and the hit single I'm 18. Then a few months later they followed it up with the album Killer, which was an album now considered one of the best, but at the time it didn't produce any breakout singles like I'm 18, so they're ready to record their follow-up called School's Out. But here's where things get interesting. The album produced their biggest hit, possibly their signature song, but that's not the whole story. The rest of the album is kind of forgettable. So in today's video, I want to talk about the hit single School's Out, but also some of the other tracks, including 3 tracks that were inspired from a movie that the band loves. There was also some controversy with the original packaging. I will talk about that as well. Let's start with the big one, the song School's Out. The idea behind the song was the greatest 3 minutes of life, which according to Alice Cooper was the last 3 minutes of the last day of school when you're sitting there and it's like a slow fuse burning. Alice Cooper wanted to capture that feeling in a song, and he knew if they could pull it off, the song would be a hit. He wanted a song for the generation, similar to what The Who did a few years back with their song My Generation. The backbone of the song is the main guitar riff written by Glenn Buxton. Alice Cooper said the riff had a very bratty sound to it. Once the band got the riff and the theme of the song, which is the final school bell, as Dennis Dunaway said, the creative gods just dropped a gift in our lap. The lyrics were meant to be rebellious, but done in a humorous way. They were aiming for punchlines similar to what Chuck Berry used to do. The lyrics include the traditional childhood line, "No more pencils, no more books, no more teachers' dirty looks." And here's the part most fans don't know. There was one line that caused a little bit of controversy. It said, "School's been blown to pieces," which was meant metaphorically, trying to capture the feeling of a kid being dismissed on the last day of school before summer break. Now, reflecting on that recording decades later, drummer Neil Smith admitted that due to changes in society and tragedies involving schools, the band would not write the line, "School's been blown to pieces," today. He acknowledged it became politically incorrect over time, despite the original intent of just being purely theatrical. But here's the twist that really changed the album. Bob Ezrin decided to use a children's choir. Bob Ezrin was known for putting kids in hit rock songs. He did it later with Kiss on their song Great Expectations from the Destroyer album, which is kind of inappropriate. And he also had kids on the hit Pink Floyd song, Another Brick in the Wall. But this was, I believe, the first time Bob Ezrin used kids in a rock song. The internet seems to be kind of undecided on this topic. I tried to look it up, but anyway, there was another funny thing that happened when writing the lyrics during the writing session for the song with Bob Ezrin. Band members were struggling to come up with the suitable rhyme for the lines, "Well, we got no class, and we got no principles, and we got no innocence." And they were completely bogged down trying to find a word. But then bassist Dennis Dunaway, he gets this moment of inspiration. He realized the characters in the song are basically rebellious kids at the back of the class, so they wouldn't really be clever enough to think of a rhyme. So that struggle became part of the lyric itself. Bob Ezrin agreed, and they included the line, "We can't even think of a word that rhymes." So this self-referential line became one of the song's most iconic and humorous parts, capturing the defiant, carefree attitude of the anthem. They eventually decided this would be the lead single. The School's Out single was released on April 26, 1972. The song was an immediate success, reaching number 7 on the US Billboard Hot 100 and number 1 on the UK singles chart. Despite its popularity, the single faced challenges as some radio stations banned the song from the airwaves. Critics of the song, including teachers, parents, principals, counselors, and psychologists, believe the music encouraged students to adopt an attitude of rebelliousness against childhood education. But like I said before, the album is mostly known for the title track, but the album has some other highlights. They drew a lot of inspiration from West Side Story on this album. The band was big fans of the play and the movie. There were 3 tracks on this album directly influenced by West Side Story. The first one was Gutter Cats versus the Jets. This song featured a bass guitar intro before the rest of the band kicks in with this rock and roll sound. Some people criticize the song by saying that it kind of takes the chorus right out of the scene from West Side Story. So Fans thought it was somewhat unoriginal, but they didn't actually steal the song, as the songwriting credits for this track include Leonard Bernstein and Stephen Sondheim, along with members of the band. There was also Street Fight, an instrumental that's only 55 seconds long. The song features a bass line with these street fighting sound effects and these cat noises, and the track kind of kept with the theme of the album, although it can be considered to be a filler track. The album ends with Grand Finale. This is the final track of the album, an instrumental lasting 4 minutes and 26 seconds. It brings the album full circle by maintaining this conceptual framework. I think the problem with this is that whenever you listen to the album, you feel like you're almost listening to the soundtrack of West Side Story, and at times not Alice Cooper. It wasn't also the first time they drew inspiration from West Side Story, because on their second album, Easy Action, it's almost like a callback to that album because the title Easy Action was taken from West Side Story. I covered that in the previous video, which will be linked to the end screen as I reviewed all the previous albums. But finally, I want to talk about the original packaging, and I don't have that album. I have a CD which just came in this box set, so the original is really hard to find. But the original vinyl packaging for this album features a very elaborate design that's way beyond what was out at the time. And there were two primary gimmicks. The packaging was designed by Craig Brown, and he had a reputation for creating these tactile and experimental designs. He co-designed the Rolling Stones tongue and lips logo, and he collaborated on the Velvet Underground's Banana cover. But here are the two packaging gimmicks. The first one is the school desk cover. The album sleeve was designed to be a tactile experience. The cover was engineered to open like the lid of a wooden school desk. The exterior of the cover, or the top of the desk, featured band members' names in the form of graffiti carved into the woods. And when you lift the lid, it revealed the contents of the desk inside. The contents were printed artwork, including items like pencils and crayons, a slingshot, and a School's Out quiz, which listed the album's credits. The record itself was in the desk, and it functioned like a gatefold sleeve. And the back of the design includes these two fold-out legs, which allow the sleeve to stand a few inches off the ground. The actual school desk photograph for the album cover is now displayed in the Hard Rock Cafe in Las Vegas. But then there were the paper panties. And this is in line with the band's shock rock persona. The earliest presses of the vinyl included this unconventional inner wrapper. The vinyl record inside was wrapped in a pair of paper panties. This was considered possibly the most outrageous aspect of the entire album. The feature was promptly discontinued because the paper panties were found to be dangerously flammable. But due to the collectible nature of the item, finding a copy of this first press with the original paper panties present and intact is now really considered very rare. But there was a limited edition repress in 2021 that brought back the panties and original sleeve design. Presumably they used a safer paper for the underwear, and I have seen a few channels talk about this back in 2021. But I've never really seen this version in the stores. I think you can maybe get it on Amazon. I'm not sure. But that is all for School's Out. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is it a good album? How does it compare to the other albums? And do you have a copy of the original or the 2021 repress? I'm interested in finding out. In the meantime, I will put the other episodes of the first 4 reviews on the screen here. I've been doing these since their first album. So like the video, it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you have not already. This is JC Rock CD and Vinyl channel, where I talk about stuff in my physical media collection. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.